I like to play with my nieces and nephews a lot.
Yeah, you do.
The thing that I've realized while playing with them, like the other day, some of my nieces and nephews came over, and I had built them that, like, I had been saving this Christmas present. What are they? Rolls, the cardboard like that look like swords.
Yeah,
why can't I ever think of that name of it? Cardboard
roll.
Whatever. It was like a toilet paper roll, but huge.
The big toilet paper rolls.
But this wasn't just like a big one. It was like thin and it was very strong. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is the perfect sword.
Yeah.
So I didn't think they had ever like made anything like that. Given some prior experiences I had with cardboard boxes, I was like, oh, well, let's show them how to make this into a sword. So before they came, I like made this awesome. So I mean, this thing is like legit. It's awesome. I even reinforced it with stuff inside to make it so it wouldn't break as easily. Like I packed in like papers and stuff to make it so that it doesn't bend as easily.
Nice and thick,
And I also made this like I got like a tissue paper box and I converted it into like a weapon, but you can stick your arm in it, and I put a wood shim inside so they can actually grab something inside.
Nice.
And so their
That's
arm
cool.
looks like Metroid.
Yeah.
And then they can like turn it, and it has different modes.
That
on
is
it.
something you would have made when we were growing up.
Exactly. And then I made my little niece Olivia. I made her like a little dagger, but I reinforced the cardboard with a ruler.
Yeah.
So they were just when they saw it, they were like, first thing I had it in the corner, and I told Sarah, I was like, let's see how long it takes them to find this. I'm not even going to tell them about it. Let's just see how long. And like immediately, Daniel walked over and he was like, oh, and then he was like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. And I could see he was just like kind of started to look out the window, and then he like looked at it, and I was like, oh, you can play with it. Oh, cool. And he like grabs the sword, and they all start grabbing which ones they want, like kind of like match their personality. But what was funny was they didn't ever really play with them. They just held them, and then they just started coming up with a bunch of rules.
Okay.
Like, this is the rule for when you're using that, and this is my base, and the rule is, and they just started making this world, but they never really played anything. But they were having so much fun creating this world and making up rules that they were going to play, and they kind of did, but it was just very fun for them to make a rule set.
Yeah.
And I thought this really goes well with this podcast episode that I made called How Limiting Yourself Makes You Limitless. Mm-hmm. Stuff isn't fun unless there's rules.
Yeah.
Like the world is not fun unless there's rules that you can master and like be good at and be better than other people at and like see where you stack in the world and like, oh, I can progress. If there's no rules, kids don't have fun.
Yeah.
They have to have, and that goes with parenting, that goes with even just watch a kid playing. Half the time they're not even playing, they're coming up with the rule set for the world that they've created.
I mean, that's what we would have done that growing. We would have spent if we made something up or like, I'll give you an example. This is a great example. When we would go over to Jared's house and play Foursquare, half of the fun of the game was making sure that we all had the rules correct.
And arguing
no, hang on. So if it bounces on the line, but then it does this, and then that's fine. Is that good? We're good with that? All right, let's keep playing.
Now we can bounce it off the wall.
Can it bounce off the wall?
We couldn't do that
one
last
bounce
week.
off the wall. But we said last week you couldn't do that.
Yeah.
We can do that this week? Okay, fine.
Yeah,
but that was fun.
It's extremely fun, and it's fun to. I don't know. It just, these days now it seems like, well, kids can do anything, or we want them to whatever. Like there's no rules. That's actually stressful,
right?
For them,
it really
and you can
is.
see what it's doing to them.
Oh yeah.
Parents need to have a rule set. The world has to have some kind of structure that they are locked into, that they have to play by those rules.
That they can trust.
Yeah, because that's what they naturally want to do when you spend any amount of time with a kid. That's all they do.
This is really interesting because I think my boys are getting old enough now that they are they're starting to become how do I explain this? They're starting to recognize that even in their own play, but they're not old enough or mature enough yet to both play by the same rules at the same time.
Yeah.
So, for example, I'm going to talk in a little bit about the game Slay the Spire. And that game is, you play a card that deals 10 damage, but they might have 11 block. Okay, so I didn't actually deal damage to them. So Isaac and Elliot enjoy sitting there and playing this game with me. And so they'll go out on the trampoline, And I'll hear them going, Isaac will say, I deal 100 damage. And Elliot goes, no, I have 200 block. And they just back and forth, they're just arguing with each other about who's getting damage, who has the most block. And there's no like, they have the rules of like the damage and the block.
Yeah.
But the rules of like how high can the numbers go does not exist.
Yeah.
Like, there's no rule for that. So that's where the conflict comes in. It's like we're playing the same game but by different rules, kind of.
But at that point, it's only fun that they know that they're both playing the same game and that there
Right.
is a rule set that they can't totally grasp, but
Right.
they are still dreaming of the rule set. They're not dreaming of the game
Exactly.
as much as the rules.
And your nieces and nephews are a little bit older.
Yeah.
So they can. So I'm excited to see how the boys kind of evolve into that. But that's really interesting. That's cool. Yeah, that is very true to my experience as well.
But then even that just goes to with you personally, like out there, and for everybody,
You
for
out
me, you know, you need to set limits on yourself so that you can actually get good at something. Like, don't just constantly be looking at 100 different things and never really doing anything. That's called YouTube how-to porn.
Yeah.
Like, just stop looking at all that and just do one thing and just do it and learn the rule sets.
Spend all your time looking
doing
up how to make a pinball machine.
And when you do that, then sure.
Yeah.
But when you do that, you'll learn electronics. Mm-hmm. You'll realize, oh, this is something that is interesting. This helps me in another way in life. And then this whole like labyrinth of how everything is connected starts, like when you get into another interest that you've actually taken the time to actually do. And I'm not talking about just kind of doing something. I mean, like, literally, like, your brain hurts because you have deeply focused and thought on how this thing works, and you feel really miserable while you're doing it, but then afterwards you're like, wow, and you feel... What I mean when I say you're doing something, I mean you don't feel good while you're doing it, but you feel good after you do it.
Right.
That's when you know that you've done something valuable.
Right.
And then you learn to enjoy it once you start to get those patterns in your mind. You start to enjoy it. You start to learn the rules, and then you can start to play within the rules and become a master of the rules.
Yeah.
And then, like they say with Jesus, no, I'm just going on a tangent, but it's just like a river. Like Alex Jones says, he's like, I see a river, and I just grab at words. But then it's like Jesus, the only time that you can break rules is when you've mastered the rules. Right. Then you can start breaking rules because you know them so well that you know which ones are... You play another game.
Once you have the confidence to know that you know a subject well enough that you can control and manipulate it because you respect it and are skilled enough in it to know what is not manipulatable.
Manipulatable, yeah.
Manipulatable, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to respect the rules enough to then be able to be the Mozart and be able to, oh, this is what, or in modern day, what is the guy's name? Jacob Collier or whatever his name is. He's like Gen Z's Mozart, they say. Mm-hmm. But it all starts with a rule set. You have to know these rules, and then you can... And ultra creative people, they can, a lot of them are just super gifted, and they don't even really understand why they are. Mm-hmm. But somehow those rule sets are just baked in them when they're born, and the rest of us have to. So what I'm saying is, the rest of us have to do it a different route. And listening to creative, like ultra gifted creative people is actually not useful at all.
Right.
Because it's the same. Again, I'm just going everywhere, but it's the same thing as a good, like the greatest hockey player ever, Crosby. Maybe not the greatest, whatever, but Crosby.
The current one?
Yeah. Not, well, when we were watching hockey. Was
Penguins
Crosby.
guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not going to be a good hockey teacher.
Yeah.
Because he's just
good.
Yeah, he's just something in him. He just knows how to do that. A good hockey player is somebody, a good teacher in hockey is somebody who wasn't good, but who worked really, really hard to figure out the rules, and they had to go piece by piece to understand each rule, and then cared so much that they got good at it. Those are the best teachers. Yeah. So why am I saying all this? I don't know. But anyways, all this went through my mind when I made that
because
cardboard
you
stuff,
had
I was
to
like, oh, okay.
if you had to learn to get good at something, then you had to understand what the rules were.
Yeah, and I was just doing pipe work, which I'll get to later, but I was doing pipes in my house. And I thought, like, the copper, I redid all the copper in a big section of my house. And I thought, this is so weird. It's just like one gigantic puzzle. And I can't say that you can't say that there's not truth in the world, and this is so dumb, but when I was just looking at that complex pipework that wasn't necessarily done the best by the previous people, when I saw it, I thought, okay, objectively, this is not the best way to do this. Like, you've got taping stuff to walls so it doesn't move, and like it just wasn't parallel and perpendicular, and I was like, this has got to be done right. I don't even necessarily I know how to do this, but it's going to take me days to be able to like work through this rule set that I haven't really gotten down in the past, but I have a little bit. Yeah. And so I suffered through it. But what I'm saying with like ultimate truth is that when you take all that copper out, there's a blank slate. You have to get from point A to point B, and you have to get over here too. There is 100% the most efficient and best way to do that. You can't like a creative person, if you're watching a creative genius, they would say, "Oh, it doesn't matter. Like you can do anything you want. You can make it go this way and this way." But logically, it's like, yeah, but you can be creative and do it and get here. You can read the notes and know music theory and still be very good at music. You don't have to just be this creative prodigy. Like, you're living in the rule set. You don't even know that you're living in it, but you're living in it, and you're telling me that that I can be as creative as you when you somehow your brain is the rule set, and you're breaking rules because you know the rules so well. So, I don't know. This is just a whole, whatever the word is I'm trying to say. But this is my deep thought for the week, and there you go.
Keeping it in. I think that's really good.
Yeah.
I think that'll inspire some people.
But you know what, Josh? With the copper work?
Yeah?
At the same time, you can be creative with it. Because remember my upstairs? I did that copper work with the faucet.
Exactly.
The faucet, that's not the most efficient way to get from point A to point B. But I was like, well, I want it to be artful, so it kind of went around a little bit.
That's what I thought you were kind of getting at, is that once you...
That's knowing the rules so well that you can break the rules. Once you know the rules
so well, you can say, I could do it this way.
Exactly.
But if I did it like this...
It would look cool.
That would look pretty cool, and that's not much more work. I can do that.
But if you're behind walls that no one's going to see, and stuff is bent, and it's like, okay, well, that's why this has leaked in the past. I can obviously tell. Well, then I'm going to take it out
in their work.
Perpendicular and make everything right, and now it looks amazing.
It really did.
So
you FaceTimed me.
I did, because we didn't get to film yesterday. But
that's okay.
Anyways, I don't even know what that whole tangent was, but there we go. That was the deep thought.